Okay, let's see what it looks like when somebody else signs us a task to do. So I had Carrie send off a task to me right now. Let me come up here, click on Send Receive, and this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see the picture, but you got a little hand with a clipboard in it and then an envelope behind it, meaning you got a message where they're trying to hand off something to you. Oh boy. Task request weeding. Ugh, gets worse. Double click to open it up, and we can go down below and read the notes. Weeding the flower beds out front of the office building. Ugh, weeds, my favorite. She already got 5% of it done, or somebody did. And you can see it was assigned by her email address, due in 3 days. And then, of course, because she got a percent complete, it's in progress. Now, when you get an assigned task, if you want to find out if this person's going to be receiving updates if you accept it, well, there you go, the respond group, you can accept or reject it with or without a message. But if you want to find out if they're going to be keeping an eye on you, then go to the show group, click on details, and she checked those boxes where she wants an update here. So if I accept it, it's going to shoot and email her the update so she can keep track of those updates on her end. Let me go back to the task view. So even if I mark it like 1% complete, up from 5 to 6%, it'll immediately, once I save it, send off a 1% increase in the percent complete for her to gawk over and go, really, 1%? You can do better than that. So let me come up here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Decline. And I'm going to edit the response before I send it. Type in an excuse because, hey, we got to have an excuse for everything. Let's go ahead and select that and click OK. Opens it up, and you can see up here in the information area, no, I decline this task. All right, here's why. I don't know if she'll buy that, but that's what I'm sending off. I'm allergic to weeds. And then go ahead and click Send, and away it goes. And we'll talk about those task updates that when you sign it to somebody, how you get it, how it shows on your end in a later training video. Now at this point, when she gets my decline, she's got a couple options. She can return this to her task list, or she can go ahead and reassign it out to me again, which is what I'm going to have her do. So that way I can show you what happens when I accept it. And so you'll see that she's going to reassign it to me again. Click on Send Receive. Oh, it's just like a bad weed. It keeps popping up, this task. Go ahead and double click. Aha, okay, I did my half. Now go and do yours, please. Let's see if she, oh yeah, 50%. She updated it, did more work, and oh, I better not reject it this time. That wouldn't be right. Better go do my portion here. So I'll come up here and click on Accept. And then I can edit the response, but let me just go ahead and send it without a reply. It'd be great if I said happy to do it. That would be a lot more encouraging, but I'm just going to go ahead and click OK and send it off, and away it goes. So once you accept it, let's go down to our task folder. Okay, we had cleaning out the company fridge, but the one that we're going over is weeding. You can see the arrows pointing down into my task, the clipboard. That means I've accepted it. And so double click to open it back up, and it's up to me to go ahead. It's now my responsibility to start marking it off complete. And when I start marking it, well, either percent complete or come up here, mark it completely complete, Carrie's going to get those updates. Details view, it's going to go right to her. And we'll cover that in a later training video. Let me show you how you can reclaim ownership of a task that somebody rejected to do, like cleaning out the company fridge. Double click. This one, I signed it out to Carrie. And so let me go ahead and have her reject it and show you what it looks like. Let me close out of here, go to the email folder here, and then come up and click on Send Receive. There you go, you got an X. And so task decline, cleaning out company fridge. Did she leave a nice note? Double click. Not this weekend, especially if there's mold. Okay, so up here, information declined by Carrie Heffernan. And then you can see in the Manage Task group, I can't mark it complete. I don't get that option unless I return it to me or I sign it out to somebody else. So let me close out of here, go to my task folder, and you can see right here, it's in bold. Well, it did that as soon as I got the reply that Carrie rejected it, so it needs an action being taken. It hasn't been read, as it were. So if I double click to open it up, and then I close back out of it, it has been read, so it unbolds it. And hopefully I actually did read it. And so if I'm like, oh my goodness, let's go ahead and double click on it, and I could say return to task list. Then I get the option up here on the Manage Task tab to mark it complete and the percent complete. And even so, if I'm like, no, I really don't want to take ownership. I did it just for a minute, but now I changed my mind. Well, go ahead and reassign it again. Click on Assign Task, and let's type in a nice note to Carrie. Please, we have a face mask and rubber gloves. I like to give her options. And then come up here and do K Heffernan, and then send it off. Or if I'm like, nah, I don't want to do this, I'll take ownership. I can cancel it right now. And it's back to me again. I'd say I'd be the man and take charge of this, but it's no sense being a man if you're a dead man. Let me go ahead and reassign it to her. In any case, I'm going to do this for the next training video to show you what it looks like when somebody actually is working on the task, what happens when they complete it, and you get those updates. So if I go to Carrie, there we go. All right, and away it goes. So you can see how the icon changed, a little dude or dudette with the arrow pointing out. It means it went out to somebody, and we're just waiting when you double click on it again, waiting for the response from the recipient, owner Carrie. In order to send a task update, first off, the person who assigned you the task, and of course you accepted the task, has to have a request to receive those updates. How do you find out if they requested them and that they're actually going to get those updates? Well, for example, weeding. Let me double click on it. And you can see that I accepted it on this date and time. And so you just come up here in the show group, click on the details. And we talked about this in an earlier training video, but this is a quick review. The update list, if there's an email address there, that's who's going to get the updates on any changes that you make, even if it's just a simple, well, let me go back to the task view, a simple period, and you click save. It's going to send the update. Now, it doesn't send everything like it keeps a history of the updates. So if I go ahead and delete all this and just type in, whew, this is taking longer than I thought, and then clicked on save, it wouldn't include that. It would just include the latest update that was made. So let's go ahead and let's say, well, we're up to 75%. You can type it in, but I'm just going to go in increments of 25%. Click save and close. Look down below. There it goes. Did you see that? Well, you have to rewind the video, but down below in the status bar, it said sending updates. But we know that anytime something gets sent, a copy of it gets stored in the Sent Items folder. So let's come over here, click on the Mail tab. There we go. Sent Items is selected. There it is. Task Update Weeding. Double click, and it shows our 75%. So like I said, even if I come in here and I get rid of like a letter G, we just call it Weeding, I click Save and Close down below in the status bar, it gets sent off, and there you go, Weeding. And it takes a snapshot of whatever changes you made and sends them out. Again, not the history. So let's go ahead and double click to open it back up. And you can make the changes here. You don't have to go to the task folder. And as you notice, you can make changes with those sent updates, and it reflects as an actual update. You don't have to go back to the task folder to do the update in the task folder. Well, you could, but hey, you know, we're in the sent items and we can update it there as well. But if I go back to the task folder and I go to Weeding, double click, you see how it says Weeding. So if you do it in the sent items folder, it's just basically a link to the task here in the task folder. So what you do in one or the other, it updates the other. So if I go up to 99% and click save, automatically shoots it out. And the last step would be when I go to 100%, it's going to mark it complete. When it's marked complete, that other option was to send out a status report, which we'll cover in the next training video. So let's go ahead and close out of here and leave it at 99% and go to cleaning out the company fridge, the one that we assigned to Carrie, to see what it looks like when she completes a task or what it looks like when she starts updating it incrementally, you know, so we can get our status updates. Double click. Oh, she hasn't responded to us yet, so let's go ahead and have her respond. Let me close out of here. And then I'm just going to come up here, not leave this folder, and click on Send Receive to show you that, well, there you go, it comes in. But notice how that the cleaning out the company fridge went from regular font to bold. That's the only indicator that you're going to get that that message has been unread when they start doing updates. Now, of course, we got this message back in the email, the inbox folder, that is, that she accepted it. So we go ahead and double click to open it up. Okay, you do it next time and alternate. All right, sounds good. So let me go ahead and have her update this task. Let's go back to the task folder. As a quick reminder, we'll double click so we can unbold it, of course. And it hasn't been started, no percent completed. This is totally from scratch. So when I close out and I say, okay, go ahead and send me an update now that you accepted it, let's have her do like 5 or 10% completed. Okay, she just did an update, but just like email messages, we got to have the send and receive to be able to receive that update. And you'll know that when we get the update, because here in the task folder, it'll go from plain text to bold. So let me come up here, click send and receive. There you go, goes to bold. Now, do I get the update in the inbox? No, you don't see it there. It's gone. It just goes right to the task folder to trigger the update, to update the actual task that you assigned out, and that's the only way you're going to find out if an update has been made. So if you want to find out if she made an update, if it's not in bold, she hasn't made an update. But when you see it in bold, meaning that it hasn't been read, go ahead and double click to open it up, and she did 5%, so that's changed. And then what about the actual work she put into it? The actual hours? Well, if she knows where to put it, if she watched this training video, you go to the Details tab, and wow, 1 hour she got 5%. Phew, that's going to take a long time. Let's go back to the task view. And so keep an eye on this here, and we'll have her send another update. So what I'm going to show you is that she's going to reply to this and delete everything there. And so it only sends a snapshot of whatever she had updated. It's not going to keep track of a history here of all the other text that we have. So if you want a history of it, you're not going to get it here. Let me go ahead and close out. Alrighty. Come up here, click Send Receive. Turns bold. We got it. It updated it. Double click to find out what the update was. And you can see how everything got deleted. It doesn't keep a history of it. Whew, this is taking longer than expected. And she's up, 6%. Okay, do I dare look at the details? Okay, it used to be an hour at 5%. Now it's 2 additional hours at 6%. Oh, that's horrifying. So let me go ahead and, let's close out of here. So let's say she doesn't like cleaning. She just wants to put in clean out the fridge. She doesn't like the title. She wants to change it, or just even add a dot to the title, or the subject, I mean. So a period after fridge there. Come up here, click Send Receive. Goes bold. You see the dot has been added. So you could be double clicking and looking in here and just kind of going nuts if they're doing this all day long. Well, let's see. I want a period. No, I don't want a period. No, it shouldn't be spelled. No, I don't want company in there. It's just cleaning out the fridge. Well, that could be annoying. So if they're doing that all day long, you may not want to check this every time to open it up to have it marked as being read, because then the boldness disappears. But at the end of the day, go ahead and double click and you'll get the latest change. No history, just the latest and greatest. There's a couple ways to generate a task status report. When you create a task, as a quick review, let me double click to open up a new task window, and you come up here to assign the task. Down below, if you got the box checked, send me a status report. That will activate it, that is if they accept the task, that when they complete the task, it'll automatically send you a task status report. And at any point along the way, both you and the person you assigned it to can send each other or anybody the status of that task or a task status report. So let me show you. Let's go ahead and close out of here, not save it. Cleaning out the fridge, double click, we assign that to Carrie. It's at 6% complete. And so when she completes it, it'll automatically send me that status report. But I can also send a status report. Well, how does that work? Well, I got a snapshot of where she's at right now. So if I need to report to my superiors, I can come up here on the Task tab to the Manage Task group and send a status report. Click on it. It takes a snapshot of the task. It copies over the subject. First of all, that it's a task status report, and then the subject, cleaning out the company fridge, and then down below that snapshot that shows the actual hours that she worked, the percent complete, and some notes, or the most recent notes. Let's go ahead and we can delete that or even update it here. It's not static, and say, well, I think she's going to be 7%, and then go ahead and send it off. Now you can do that on your end and not wait for her to have it marked 100% complete, and she can also do it on her end as well. So let's go ahead and have her do that, send us a status report about where she's at right now. But because we have that first checkbox checked, any update she makes will automatically, update as we covered in an earlier training video here, and mark the task as unread. So we can just double click to open it up. But she can at any point send us a status report, which I'm going to have her do that right now. And she can send it to anybody, but we'll just have her send it off to us so we can reference it. Let me go to the mail folder, come up here, send receive. And there it is, task status report, cleaning out the company fridge. Double click. It's exactly what we see in our task folder, that she's at 6% of completion with an actual work of 3 hours. So she can send that to us, but it probably doesn't do us any good, especially when we get all the updates because of the first of those 2 checkboxes that we checked. That any changes that she makes, as we talked about in an earlier training video, like even if it's just a simple dot or period at the end of the subject, it automatically sends us the update. So she may want to do that if she wants to send it off to somebody else instead of me, who was the original owner of the task, but she needs to notify somebody else for whatever reason, she can do it. And I can do it as well. Let me go ahead and delete that, go back to the task folder, and then open it up here as we just went over. Now let me go ahead and have her mark it complete, because when she does that, it'll automatically send the report over to me. And of course showing it that it will be 100% complete. So let's go ahead and close out of here and come up here, click Send Receive. And the moment that I get it, you'll see it right here. There we go. The task status report, also with the status update, because remember, we checked both boxes. So the first one that we got tagged with was the update, which means it was 100% complete, so it puts a line through it saying it's complete and it checked it. Then the second one was the status report. So we basically got two messages here. One, we don't read it, just comes right into the task folder, as we already talked about, and just updates it. The other one is actually in the inbox right here, the task status report. Double click, and there you go. Task completed, cleaning out the company fridge. Automatically gets sent off by default when the task has been completed. Go back to the task folder and then Whedon, double click to open it up. That's been assigned to me. And so if I go ahead and mark it 100% complete, it'll send it off to her. Two messages, one that it was completed, and then the second one was the status report. And of course I can come in here, click on send status report before I mark it complete, and then type in whatever I want, send it off to her or send it off to somebody else. And she can do the same thing on her end because she's the owner of it, and plus she's still tied to it. She didn't disconnect from me completely because in the details view, there's the update. It's going to be sending it right to her. So let me come up here, mark it complete. Down below you can see one of two messages is being sent. The first one is the update because she had the box checked that she wants all the updates. Then the second one, because it was completed by default, she gets the task status report. So as a quick summary, the ways that you can track assigned tasks, as we covered in earlier training videos, that when you create a task, well, let me double click to open it up, and you assign it, you can have one or both of these boxes checked. One will give you a status report, and the other one will give you all the updates of any changes that the other person makes. Again, we covered that, but this is going to be a quick overview. And let me close out of that window. And so when they do make an update and you have that first box checked, it'll automatically send that update and turn the task into bold letters. So you know that it hasn't been read yet until you double click to open it up to go, oh yes, there's been an update, even if it's something as insignificant as adding a period or deleting a letter or adding a character. And then you've got the status report that we covered, so you can send that at any time, you or the other person that you assigned the task to that they accepted, as well as automatically it'll send out a status report when they completed the task to you. And then next, how about the task views? So if you have tons of tasks in here and you're trying to filter all the tasks that you assigned out to somebody else, not the ones that you're currently working on, come up here on the Home tab to the Current View group and click on Change View. And it's right there, those tasks that you assigned to somebody else. Click on it and the tasks that you're assigned to disappear, and you can focus on everybody else and if they're completing your task. And it's like, yeah, okay, so it's completed. And then you can click on the drop-down arrow, you get other ones, those that are overdue in the next 7 days, those that are active, and of course you can go back to the detailed here. And again, these tasks will always stay in here, even though that they're crossed out, to show you that they've been completed, and you can see the green check mark. You can uncheck that, and it says you don't own the task. Your changes may be overwritten by the task owner. So in other words, when that person does any more updates, it could come back and change this. So let me click OK, and it removes the check mark. So Carrie's assigned cleaning out the fridge. If she does an update, I don't know why she would. Well, if I had a task and I marked it complete, I'm not going to touch it again. But for some reason, she goes back in and says it's complete. It'll send it back here and update this as if I came in here and checked on it. And it says again, you don't own the task. Changes you have may be overwritten. Click OK, and it marks it complete because she could go back to the task and go, oops, I missed something. Let me update that. And if she goes to like 95% completion or even 99, it'll come in here and remove the line through it and show me that it's not been completed yet. So she's the owner. I'm just getting the updates over here, but I still can control it. But the final say will be over on her end when she updates it, because all those will reflect automatically and overwrite any changes I made here. These next several training videos about sharing your folders with others requires that you're connected to a Microsoft Exchange server. At least that's the way I'm going to be doing it, because I want to share my folders like the mail, calendar, and contacts to those people who are connected to the same Exchange server, and give them permissions of what they can do within those folders. Like, let's say in my calendar folder, to be able to view the appointments, like the subject, the location, the notes, maybe create the appointments, edit them, or maybe for the contacts, create my contacts or just view them. In any case, to go ahead and set the permission levels for these folders, like the contacts, it's going to be the same. If I go to the contacts here, just right-click on the contacts folder that you want to share, go down to Sharesy Wheresy, and then over and down to Folder Permissions. Now that's the same window you're going to get basically. I say basically, let me go ahead and close out because that's proprietary to the contacts, but it's the same steps for the calendar. Pick your calendar that you want to share, right-click on it, go down to Share, and then over and down to Calendar Permissions. And you get the same tab permissions, a little bit of variation here. And you can see up at the top the default user, just the generic person who's connected to the same Exchange server, can see that they can view whether I'm free or busy. That's all they get. They can't see the subject, the location, or the notes that I typed within there. Unless, of course, I come down here and change it for the default user. And you can see over here you get the read permission, the write permission, whether they can delete items or others. So to keep it simple, it's free busy. If I come down here and say, okay, well, as far as reading it goes, they can get the subject and location, check it, and it says changes you make at the default or anonymous permission will apply to all users. Are you sure you want to change them? Okay, well, yes, that's fine. If I have that kind of power. In any case, you can see that now the permission level has been changed. And you can give them full details and just go crazy. Let's go yes, in which case, when they view your calendar, they'll be able to see every detail unless, as you recall in an earlier training video, you open up like maybe you got a dentist appointment you don't want anybody to know about, and you mark it as private. And then it'll be just like the free busy, and that's all they'll get. So you can do it that way, and I'll say yes to go back to it, or, well, now it's custom. When I make too many changes and it's not to where the default was, you can click on the drop-down arrow to choose the default settings for owner, and it's in a hierarchical structure where up at the top you've got everything, or if you dish it out at the permission level where they're like the owner for the default user, they'll have access to everything and be able to change everything and do everything just crazy. And then as you go down the line, they get less authority to do things all the way down to, well, they can see the time, the subject location, as opposed to just that you're busy, or they don't have access to see anything on your calendar. Just turn them right off. So you can go ahead and select author and say yes, in my case here, and then see what it checks so they get full details. They can read everything, and they can also create items and edit their own, but they can't create subfolders or edit all. So in any case, go ahead and check what works best for you. I'll go back to the set yes, default free busy time, and click OK and leave it as is. To be able to access another user's Outlook folder, assuming you're connected to the Microsoft Exchange server, well, that is, both of you are, whether you want to connect to their contacts, calendar, or inbox in the mail folder, it's all the same steps. Just come up here, click on the File tab, go down to Open and Export, and then down to Other Users folder. Click on it, and then click on the Name button, find the person that's on the Exchange server that you want to connect to, like Carrie, double-click. Adds her name there, and what folder do you want to have access to? Click on the drop-down arrow. I'm going to go with Calendar. Click OK. Now, if I was prevented from having access to the folder, I wouldn't be able to get this far. But I do have access, but at what level? Remember we talked about the permissions level, or setting those in the previous training video? Well, here, let's take a gander. Here's my calendar, and then over here is Carrie's. So if I want to be able to schedule an appointment, I can come up here, as we learned in an earlier training video, and do an overlay by clicking on the arrow, so it puts her calendar on top of mine, and all her appointments, events, and meetings are in green here, and they're in bold, as opposed to mine, which is behind the calendar. They're not in green, they're faded. Let's go ahead and scroll down just a little bit. And you can see as I go down that I don't have complete review or access. All I get is whether or not she's tentative, out of the office, busy, or if there's nothing there, obviously she's free. So if I come over here and I'm like, well, let me just go ahead and take a gander and double click to open it up, it says you don't have permissions to view this calendar. Do you want to ask Carrie to share his or her calendar with you? Well, technically she is sharing it, just not at the detailed level that I like to have access to. And we'll talk about that in a later training video on the asking and delegating folder access. So for right now, close out and say no. We'll keep it simple here. And so when it comes to scheduling appointments, well, I just need to find a time where she's not free or busy. Now, out of the office, this is an all-day event. You can see over here it goes from 12 a.m. of the 27th to 12 a.m. of the 28th. In any case, if I want to see this at a different level than what she's given me, we'll talk about that later. But for right now, let me go ahead and have her update this. let's have her give me reviewer access. And as you recall, when it came to setting permissions, she'd have to right-click on the calendar, go down to Share, and go down to Calendar Permissions. And there's the default I have, but she can go ahead and update it to Reviewer. Well, this change will apply to all users, and say yes. And you can see that that gives me the full details, the subject, location, and any notes that she may have. Well, this is on my end. Now I gave her the full details to all my appointments, where before she'd only see free or busy for my ghost hunting here, the reoccurring ghost hunting that is, which is coincidentally the same time. So that's a meeting that I scheduled with her that she marked as tentative. So that's why it's showing up like that at the same time. Of course, I really wouldn't know unless she upgraded the permission level to a level that I could at least read the subject, because you get the subject location, and the full details would be fabulous. Click OK. So let me just have her go to her calendar and right-click and go to Share and Calendar Permissions and have her change it to Reviewer and then click OK. And then depending upon the lag time between the server and the update on my computer, who knows how long it's going to be. I think maybe 10 to 15 seconds. There we go, about 20 seconds, 25 seconds, and she's on vacay. Cool, now I can go ahead and double click and open it up. And that purple is the out of office. So you can see up here, show as out of office. And it's an all-day event, she's on vacation. And Outlook doesn't prevent her from scheduling other appointments like this one. Now that one's private. You can see the little lock down below, so when I try to double click to open it up, I don't have access to that. So that brings up a great point. She can give me full access to this, but when she marks it as private, it's just like the free busy setting, only this time instead of saying busy, it just says it's private. And it lets me know that this private appointment is from 12 to 1 p.m. Let's go down to this one, Comedy Central, double click. Great. Let's see if I can go ahead and make any changes in here. Changes. And then see if I can reschedule her appointment, kind of as a little joke. And then click Save and Close. And it says your changes cannot be saved because you don't have permissions to modify some or all the items in this folder. Do you want to save a copy of this item in the default folder for the item? No. I can't change it on her end, which obviously she didn't give me the right permissions to do so, and rightfully so because I was going to change it. In any case, she can update that and change that at any time. It takes about, at least on my end, 25 seconds to see those updates or changes. Now we talked about in an earlier training video about the overlay here, that you can right click and get different options, of course. And when it comes to scheduling a new appointment, well, I can't do it for Carrie. Because, if I right click, I don't get those options. She didn't give me that permission level to do so. So I can go back and do it on my calendar. In which case I could go back to viewing it side by side, or right click and then move it down so now mine's on top and then hers is on the bottom, so the green that was bold is now faded and my appointments and meetings are now in bold and on top. In any case, when you're done, of course you can go ahead and click on the X to close out or just uncheck it here. And if you want to completely get rid of this, you can right click on Shared Calendars and delete the group and say yes. And you can always go back, File, Open and Export to other users' folders and pop it right back open again. If you want to share your calendar to somebody who doesn't have Outlook or is not connected to the same Exchange server, you can send them a snapshot or a picture of your calendar in an email message. To do that, just come up here on the Home tab, go to the Share group. There you go, Email Calendar. Click on it, and you want to specify the calendar information you want to include. And I've got two calendars, the default and then my personal calendar. I'm going to do the default one, and then the date range that I want to include, today or maybe tomorrow, or you can specify dates and click on the drop-down arrow. And I'm going to go back to, let's do next 30 days. So from Tuesday, March the 27th through Wednesday, April the 25th. Now the level of detail is just whether or not you're free or busy, tentative, working elsewhere, or out of the office. You can click on the drop-down arrow and say, well, let's give them the subject, or let's give them everything, the subject, and then the details, if you have anything in the notes field. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then additional options, click on the advanced to show. You can include details of items marked private, include attachments within the calendar if you have any. And then you have the different type of layouts. You have the daily schedule and the list of events. We'll do both. First of all, the daily schedule. Select that, click Okie dokie, and you can see it's attached here, and it shows up down below. So let's go ahead and scroll down, and it's got every day marked. So this is the daily schedule, the 27th, 28th, and when you actually go down here, do I have anything on the 28th? For the daily schedule, you can see I've got everything free on the 27th except from 5 to 8. What does the legend show us? It's a dark gray, so we're busy. And that makes sense because we're doing ghost hunt film footage review. So it shows every day, including those days that I'm free. Unless you want to change this and do it by event and say, okay, let me just go ahead and create a snapshot of the days that I am busy on and not those that I'm also free on. So, and you can click on the link here if you hold down the control key. Let's hold down the control key and click on the 31st. Takes you right to the 31st, and it looks like from the start of the day, that morning at 12 a.m. to 9 a.m., I'm doing ghost hunting, but everywhere else after 9 a.m., I'm free. Let's go ahead and close out of here and choose the other layout. Home tab, share group, email calendar, 30 days. Let's do the full details. Click show, and we'll do list of events. So it's not going to show every day for the next 30 days, whether I have something or not. It's only going to show those days that I actually have something scheduled. So click Okie dokie, and let's go ahead and scroll down. So it's not every day, right? So it's not showing the days that I'm also free, but just the days that I've got something scheduled. So if I hold down the control key and click on the 13th, it takes me right down to the 13th and gives me just a quick overview of, well, okay, from Friday to Saturday, 9 p.m. Friday to 9 a.m. Saturday, that's what I got going on. If I hold down the control key and click on that, then it takes me down and gives me the full details. Isn't that lovely? So if I don't want the full details, just want to know the time, great. But if I need to know exactly what's going on, including any messages in the notes field, it would be listed here. When it comes to accessing another user's folder who's connected to the same Exchange server, as you can see down below in the status bar, I'm connected, and you get denied access, I'm going to show you how you can ask for permission to access their folder through email, as well as delegating folder access to certain individuals outside of the default access, like to a higher permission level when it comes to viewing your calendar. So instead of just seeing the block time, they'll be able to see the subject, location, and the details. So to find the current setup and who has access to your calendar, you can do it one of a couple of ways. One way is to select the calendar, then come up here on the Home tab to the Share group, and click on Calendar Permissions. That's one way, or let me close out. You can right-click on it, go down to Share, and there you go, Calendar Permissions. Click on it, and it opens up the same window. And you can see the two names that I have by default is anonymous. I'm glad they don't have any permissions because I don't want somebody anonymously in my calendar and hacking it. And then you got the defaults, so anybody who's connected to the same Exchange server will be able to see if I'm free or busy, and that's it. They don't get the subject, location, or the details. They can't double-click to open it up. Now, if I want to have Carrie, but just Carrie only, to have a higher permission level, I want to be able to add her so she's not a default user who's limited to the free busy time. So as you can see down below, we got the permission levels. As we talked about in an earlier training video, it's in a hierarchical structure, so at the very bottom end, you get no permission, but as you start to climb, you can see that they're free or busy to get more details, to start editing, to be able to do everything that the owner does. So let me go ahead and click on Add, find Carrie, double click, and you can add as many as you want, and then click OK. And after you added them, then you can, well, the default permission level is going to be free busy, so you don't have to hurry and panic and go, oh, they're made owner, let me go ahead and change them. No, it's going to be at the lower end. Well, not completely at the lowest end, which would be none. But they get the free busy, so you can just come down here with them selected, or her in this case, click on the drop down arrow, and let's do reviewer. And she's got the full details when it comes to reading. Writing, she can't delete anything. And then the other, well, for these first two, you can read more about it in my instructor notes. The last one, folder visible, this option will automatically be selected if you're a contributor or above. So let me click on the drop down arrow, contributor or above. And what it does is it allows other individuals to open an entire calendar in Outlook to see the details of the meeting, and it's required in order to view the calendars. So it's checked, and then we can go ahead and click OK, and Carrie now has reviewer access, which is a few permission levels above the base of free busy. Now she doesn't know unless I call her up or I text her or send her an email. which brings up another good point. You can hit two birds with one stone. If you want to share it at that level, at the same time you're sharing it, it automatically sends out an email, and that's up here in the share group, Share Calendar. So before I do that, let me go ahead and click on Calendar Permissions and remove her. So when I share it again, it's not like, hey, she's already in here. So select it, click Remove, click OK, and then come back up here and click on Share Calendar, and it opens up. It allows me to enter her email address, which will do two things. Well, first of all, when I click Send, it'll send her an email, but also secondly, it allows me to set the permissions. So let's go from top to bottom here. So first of all, let's type in her email address, and you can add as many people as you want, of course. There's the semicolon, the delimiter that will separate all the other email addresses. And then the subject, sharing invitation, Kurt Kershaw, he wants to share his calendar. You can see down below, allow recipient to view your calendar. At what level? Well, availability only is the free busy. The limited details is including the subject. So let me select that, and you can see includes availability and subject. And then if you want full details, which is the reviewer level, and I'll show you that in just a minute, that's the highest level you can go. You can't go any higher than that, where they can actually create appointments for you or edit or delete them. So if you want to be able to quickly do this and then go back in and update it and give her a higher permission level, like maybe editor or even owner, that's fine. But again, it hits two birds with one stone, and you can actually include a third stone, which you can request permission to view her calendar by checking that. And then it updates it here, and it says sharing request calendar. It's not just me sharing it, but it's sharing from both sides. So all I have to do is go ahead and click Send. And are you sure you want full details? Of course I do. And then it's doing those two things. It's sending her an email while at the same time opening up the permissions for her. So if you come back up here and click on Calendar Permissions, there she is, and she's the reviewer, as we talked about. Full details, but cannot delete or write to my calendar. Okay, let's go ahead and click OK, and go to the inbox to wait for her reply. And there we go, allowed sharing request. Sweet. Let's go ahead and just for the calendar, double-click to open it up. Carrie has allowed you to view his or her calendar. Click the open button above. All right, come up here. There it is. Open this calendar. Click on it. And there we go. She's over to the right. It updates. Sweet. Oh, she gave me full access to view, I think. Let's take a lookie. Okay, I can see the subject. So anything beyond the subject, any details, I could double click. Yes, I can read the notes as well. So full access, she gave me the reviewer. And I can come up here and see if the tags are high or low importance. And if I try to change it and then click Save, your changes have been denied because you don't have permission to modify some or all the items in this folder. However, you can save a copy of this item in the default folder for the item. No, I won't do that. If I want to be able to, let me not save it, edit or write to those appointments that I have to email or call her and saying, hey, can you please go ahead and update it? In which case, if she does, she can do it at any time. And I wouldn't know unless I tried to change it right now, and she did it just recently. That is, without emailing me or calling me first. Now that email is still active, so she can at any time open up that email and deny me access. And if she does, she can edit the response before sending it. She could send the response without typing in any text, without adding an excuse why she denied it. Or she can just deny, not send a thing, in which case, if I'm still in it, when the exchange updates, all of a sudden it'll just go blank on me. And I'll be like, oh, you must be down. Or I could email her and saying, hey, what's the deal? What gives? I can't see your calendar anymore. So let me go ahead and have her do that, deny me through that same email. I get the email, it says right there, if I hover over it, denied, sharing request. Oh, nuts. So if I click to open it up to confirm it, access denied. She even put a frowny face in there. Oh, in any case, well, it was nice to, at least for her to write a note. I can delete that. And then just wait for like 10-15 seconds. This thing will start updating and I won't be able to see anything in her calendar. Even though the default allows me to see free busy, your settings will trump that default user. Well, something's wrong with the Exchange server. It's not updating as fast as I'd like it to, so I'm just going to go ahead and close out of Outlook completely and reconnect. And there we go. I'm back to the default user. Ugh, because you can see it just says now busy and tentative, and I can't double click to open it up. In which case, I can ask Carrie for permissions. When I click yes, then we get that same email that I just told you about. And it also checks allow recipient to view your calendar as well, in which case you can uncheck it if you just want to view theirs and not let them have access or viewership to yours. Now let's go ahead and let me close out of her calendar here. In fact, I'm just right click on shared calendar and say delete the group. Yes. And let's have her share her contacts. So let me go ahead and have her send me a share contact email. And let's go to our contacts folder so I can quickly explain this. So you can right click on your contacts, go down to share. Oh, okay, she's sharing. In any case, you can go to folder permissions and it opens up the window. By default, nobody gets access to your contacts. It's only on the calendar. That's however the IT person wants to set it up. Maybe by default, they'll give everybody a permission level to it. We'll cover that in just a minute. Let me close out. And then on the Home tab to the Share group, you can open up Shared Contacts and click a name, who you want to share it to, and Carrie, and click OK, and then click OK. I'm not going to do that. Let me backtrack just a little bit because I want to take care of that email that she just sent, sharing request people, double click. Carrie has requested permission to view your contacts folder. Allow or deny permissions by clicking the buttons above. This person has also invited you to view his or her contacts folder. So this is perpetual. As long as I got this email, I could respond for her to view my calendar or deny it. And then 10 weeks from now, I can come back. And if I chose deny, I could allow. If I allow, I can choose deny. But in any case, I get total access to her contacts folder. Click on it. And I can see down below it says Carrie Heffernan. Let me select it. There it goes. It didn't bring this up in front of me. I had to look down below and it says Carrie Heffernan's. And that's her contacts. There's mine. There's hers. Aw, she only has two, Mr. Bean and Barty 5. Well, we better drum up more business because, well, that could be her personal contacts. Who knows? But remember, when she's sharing her contacts or tasks or calendars, she can mark the others as private. Let me go ahead and have her, as in this example, select her contact and remove private from it. Oh, there we go. Took about 10 seconds, but I sped up the time here. So she has one more. Great. But she could have more. Maybe she didn't want me to see all her private contacts. So I can double click to open it up. Oh, I'm in the people view. That's what she has. The people version shows basic information and is more apt to connect to social networks like Facebook, so you can impart and view limited fields and connections there as opposed to the business card. Go and select business card because I get more details. Double click. When I open it up on the title bar it says read only. So she's only given me the view permission. And I can't come down here in the notes field and type. Oh, I can type things. But watch what happens when I click save. It says, you can't do it. You don't have permissions, but you can save a copy of this item in the default folder. No, I'm not going to do that. So I'd have to have her change those permissions. I could email her, but let me go ahead and have her change those permissions right now to give me, let's do the editor permission level. So if I double click to open it up, you can see up on the title bar, read has been removed. So if I come down below and I say it's .warners, and I go ahead and save and close it, it updates it there. Sweet. And remember, we still have that email where she had the sharing request people. Let's double click to open it up. So I got access to her calendar. Now it's my turn. And I can do this at any time, even tomorrow, next week. But she may be curious like, hey, did you get my email? So let me go ahead and say allow. And then it says, are you sure you want to do this? It's read only, reviewer permission level. Yes. And then it shares it. And it says your contacts folder has been shared with Carrie. Carrie has also granted you access to the contacts folder. Click the open calendar button. Okay, great. Click OK. And let me go ahead and close out. And then I can go back to my contacts folder and, well, there's her contacts I have access to. But if I go to my contacts here and I right click on it and I want to update that permission level from reviewer that Carrie has, or maybe downgrade it to the default, let's go ahead and go to folder permissions. There we go. There's reviewer. And so if I want her to write, let's see, author allows her to create and edit her own. But if I want to upgrade to editor, she can create items and edit everything, man. And so I can go ahead and click OK. And now she gets a higher permission level. And then if I go back to my inbox and I'm like, no. Let me double click to open it up and say deny. I can edit the response before sending, type in a little sweet note saying, I don't want to share, or send the response now. And away it goes, denied sharing. So what happened back here? in the contacts folder when I right click on my contacts. Now, she's still sharing. It just means from my end, when I go down to share, to folder permissions, she's been wiped clean, so nobody has access to my contacts. How about delegating inbox access? Like when I'm on vacation, I want Carrie to be able to open up and look inside my inbox here and delete messages, reply to important messages, things like that. To go ahead and to give her access to my inbox, I can do it one of a couple of ways. I can either right-click on this inbox or that one. Doesn't matter. They're both the same, except one's my favorite. Let's go ahead and right-click on that one and go down to Properties. Click on the Permissions tab. And there you go. Default and anonymous. By default, they don't get any access to my inbox. Phew, that's good. So to add Carrie, click on Add. Double click. You can add as many people as you want. I'm just going to add Carrie, plus I only have Carrie. Click OK. And by default, the permission level is set to none, so that way if there's a power outage between when you selected her and you came down to set the permission level, then it won't be set to what's the highest owner and give her complete access when you didn't mean to do that. So she'll be there, but she won't have access unless we change the permission level, and we can go ahead and say, yeah, let's give her author. You got the read level, the write level, the delete, and the other. Like I said in an earlier training video, you can read my instructor notes on the other fields here, and then go ahead and click apply or OK. Now, there wasn't any email. I'd have to notify her, text her, send her an email saying, okay, you have access to my inbox, and let's go ahead and have Carrie give us access to her inbox. And so once she's done that, for me to access it on my end, I can just come up here, click on the File tab, go backstage down to Open and Export. And by the way, she would do this on her end. Now that we gave her access to my inbox, she would have to follow the same steps. And then she'd have to come down here to open another user's folder, click on it, and then click on the name to find out whose folder that you want access to. It's Carrie, double click, adds her name there. The folder type, you can do calendar contacts, but we're looking at inbox, then click okie dokie. And then if she didn't give me access to it, I wouldn't be able to, well, there you go, open up and view her inbox. Now on her end, it's not in the reading pane view. It's just the default for any time you open up a new folder here. So if you want to change that, click view, go to reading pane, we'll turn it off, and then you get the previews. So arrangement message preview to off, and this folder only, and then it's got a group by. So if I right click on one of the column headers and I go down to view settings, group by, you see how I have access to change all this? Well, this is on my end here. And click OK, click OK. Then it refreshes it, loads her information in here. And she's got 3 emails in her inbox. So what kind of access do I have? I wouldn't know unless she texted me or emailed me, or I tried it out here. Select the sharing request calendar. I could go ahead with it selected, come up here on the Home tab and delete it. Can I delete? Yes, it takes it from her inbox and puts it in her deleted items folder, which brings up a good point. It doesn't put it in my deleted items because when you look over here, it's my stuff. It doesn't update it and show you over here where it says Carrie's inbox. So if I come over here and I click on inbox, it'll actually take me back to my inbox on my computer here. And so if I want to access Carrie's inbox after I selected my own, I'd have to go through the same steps again, file, to open, export, and then choose her, and then the inbox and click OK. So the last 2, I'm going to go ahead and click on inbox. Updates it, takes me back to my inbox. Every time you create a new email message and you go down below in the body of the message and you type in some text, by default it has black text against a white background. Outlook has what are called stationery or theme messages that have pre-built-in templates you can choose from, which have different vivid colors, active graphics, and background images to bring some of your messages here to life. So let's go ahead and close out of here, not save it, and to set up our email messages to have stationery or themes, let's go backstage, click on the File tab, go down to Options, select Mail, and you want to make sure that your messages are being composed in the HTML format because any other format is not going to work. So HTML. Then come down below and click on Stationery and Fonts, and you'll see right there, theme or stationery for new HTML, nothing else, email messages. No theme is currently selected. Click on theme. And what's the difference between themes and stationaries? Well, it says stationary for those that are stationary, and those are static, meaning that what you see over here is what you get, a bunch of cuddly bears. So if you want a little bit more control than just whatever's available as a stationary, in other words, as a theme, let's go ahead and scroll down, and I want to choose ice. You can see the options down below are available. And by default, it's got active graphics and background image. If I uncheck that, if it had any background image, it would disappear, but this one doesn't, at least not that I can tell. And then active graphics, uncheck that. And if there's anything active, well, let's check vivid colors. Ooh, okay, that's vivid. So for this theme, that's the only option that really brings anything to life here. And so if you like it, go ahead and click OK, click OK, click OK. So when I create a new email message, double click in a blank area, come down below and start typing in some text. Oh, that's fancy. Look at those colors. Let me go ahead and select the text and then come up here on the Format Text tab, because your styles for like your headings, that's what it's going to look like. That's a pretty cool heading style. In fact, if you want to learn more about heading styles and how they can be incorporated with other features in Outlook, you want to watch my word training video on styles. And then what about bullets? Let me go ahead and say this is, I'm creating my list for camping, so sleeping bag tent. Go ahead and select it and click on the bullet, and oh, that's what it looks like. Let me go down here and click in front of it, hit the tab key to see what it looks like when I have it indented. So the main topic to the subtopic, and well, I guess that looks okay. In any case, if you're like, nah, this isn't working for me, or you want to turn it off altogether, well, that's okay. Let's close out of here. Go back to File, down to Options, Mail, Stationery and Fonts, and then you can see it's got ice. So if I select Theme and scroll up and say No Theme, then we're back to where we started. No theme, click OK, just double click down here, plain ordinary black text against a white background. As you recall in the first training video on themes, which by the way you want to watch it if you haven't, because if not, this isn't going to make sense. The definition is that a theme is a combination of complementary fonts, colors, and effects. And I'm not talking about the previous training video on themes in conjunction with stationery. That's a different feature. That one you're limited because they're pre-built templates, and when it came to customization, you only had 3 checkboxes, so that's different. But you can use those if you'd like. I'm talking about the first training video, and if you watched it, then let's go ahead and get going here. Click in the body of the message and come up here, click on the Options tab, and you got the Themes group, as we talked about in the first themes training video, how you can apply themes. And it's a combination, the theme here, of colors, fonts, and effects, and the background page color. The purpose of this training video is to show you how you can change certain theme elements, well, just colors and fonts, because you can't customize or change the effects or the page color. And so if you don't like the colors that are available here in the drop-down list, then, well, you can go ahead and customize it. But before I do that, let me type in the body of the message here some text and change the font size to something large. So I've got something to show you to work with when I start customizing my colors and fonts. And for colors, well, let me go ahead and insert a illustrations to chart. And I'll just go with this one and click OK. And then close out of that. And then when it comes to layout options, which I go over in great detail in my Microsoft Word training video, click on it, layout options, because I don't want it to be in line with the text. I'd rather have it like in front of the text that allows me to click and drag and float it around, because it could be in front of the text. Doesn't matter where it's at. My chart's now a floaty here. In any case, it allows me to move it out and away from my text. So let's go back to our options here. And the first thing I want to do is to customize the colors. Click on the drop-down arrow, and you can see all the different color accents here that when I hover over one, it applies to any smart art shapes, objects, or charts, as you can see here. Now it's in grayscale, but if I don't like any of this, I can come down here and customize the colors. And what you're looking at is 2 sections, the theme and the sample. And in the sample, you've got 2 samples. You have white text or light text against a dark background and dark text against a light background. So when you're working with a dark background, do you want to go with white text? If not, then go ahead and click, well, these first 4 boxes are for that. the dark text against a light background and light text against a dark background. So for the black one here, you can see it's the black text. When you change it to another color, make sure it's something dark, because if it's too light against a light background, well, you understand you won't be able to see it. So let's go ahead and go with, what's that, blue? Okay, that's okay. And then with the white here, that's white text against a dark background, click on it and maybe choose something like gold accent forward lighter 60%. Click on it. That's okay. And then for the dark background, if you don't like the color there, click on it and choose something else. Maybe I'll go with blue accent 5 darker. Well, the hyperlink is hard to see, so maybe I can go ahead and change that and do something else. Let's do orange accent 2 darker 50%. Not getting any better, but I'm not going to sit here and play with colors until I get it right. You get the idea. And then for the light background, if you don't like the gray here, you want something else, we can do, well, let's do a light green here. Cool. Now when it comes to the accent colors, when you have a column chart, you can see the first color is going to be blue, then it goes orange, then it goes gray. If you want the first color to be something else, I don't know, let's see, purple followed hyperlink. Well, in any case, there's the purple. And then it goes to gray. Well, I don't like gray. I'd rather have a color. Let's do dark green. Oh, that looks nice. And you can see what it looks like against a dark background and a light background, but you don't get a choice to choose what goes against a dark background and a light background here, because for your accents, it's all the same as well as your hyperlinks. So for the hyperlink, before you click on it, it's going to be in blue. After you click on it, to show that you've been there, that you've already clicked on it, that you followed it, and it's purple. And if that doesn't work, then let's go ahead and choose something else. How about green? Oh, this isn't my best video on complementary colors here. I'm going to come back up here because I'm just going to go to something else here entirely. Okay, I think I can live with that, except the hyperlink blue, not quite there with it. And go to more of a gold accent color. All right. If you don't like it, you can go ahead and click reset and it goes back to the way it was before you started making all the changes, but I'll go with it and it will be something spiffy. That's the name of it. Click save and it automatically applies to the chart here. Now if you want to go back and make edits to it or even delete it, then come back up here, click on colors. Hey, there it is, spiffy. It's in the custom section. You can right click on it to edit it, make your changes, or of course you can right click on it to delete it. Now what about fonts? So you've got your fonts here we talked about in that first training video. You have the uppercase A, which represents the heading styles or any heading styles applied to the text, which is going to be, well, sometimes it's going to be in different font. For this one, it's the same font, but it's just a larger font size. But if you scroll down far enough, I'm sure we'll find one. There we go. Calibri is for your heading fonts with the heading style applied to it. And then Cambria is the body of the message, anything that doesn't have a heading style applied to it. And if you want to learn more about heading styles, how to apply them, and the benefits behind them, I go over it in extremely great detail in my word training video on styles. So we'll keep it simple here. If I choose Calibri, Cambria is going to be selected for the style here because that's not a heading style. Select it, and there you go. Now we already talked about how to apply this, and the reason why it's not being applied to this text. What is this in? Let's come up here, click on the Message tab, and click on the Font drop-down arrow, and you can see Arial is highlighted. It's not a theme font. If it was, it would be in Cambria, which has body. And so, if I want to be able to update this as a theme font, when I select from, the Options tab, the theme fonts, to be updated there in a single click, then I have to choose it here. Once I choose it there, anytime I make any changes to it, on the Options tab and click Fonts and choose something else, you can see right there over to the right how it updates when I hover. There you go. So what I'm trying to say here is that basically, if you want to use theme fonts, you can't use regular font. In other words, if you got tons of text throughout the body of the message and you want to update it in a single click to a different font, and any headings that you have with heading styles, just come up here, choose what you like, click, and it updates everything. You don't have to select the text and then come up here on the Message tab and click on the drop-down arrow and choose, a non-theme font. But you could, it's just that once you do that, theme fonts become obsolete because it's no longer updatable because it's not, again, a theme font doesn't have body. And to show you, let me go ahead and type in, this is your heading. And the heading here, when I select it, and I right-click on it, it's got body, but then I want to change it to a heading style, and that's Cambria. So when I come back here and I go to options and I want to update to a different theme font, it updates everything, or just the two words that I have within my document. There's for the heading Garamount, because I applied the heading style to it, the theme heading style Garamount, and then there's the body of the message Garamount. In any case, if you don't like that, you can go ahead and come down and customize the fonts and say, look, for the heading, and there's the sample, I want something that's comical, like Comic Sans. Let's go ahead and hit the tab key, and it updates it here. And then for Cambria, I don't know. Well, let's do this. How about Monotype Corsiva? Fancy pants text. And then let's go ahead and save it as my spiffy theme. Click Save, and it updates it. So there's any text that I have within the body of my message that's a heading. It's got one style, and then the body of the font has got the Monotype Corsiva. Of course, that's not matching. It's not what you would call complementary fonts. But hey, it's not going to restrict you and say you can't go with what they think is a complementary font. You can go as outlandish as you want and choose anything that you want. And of course, if you want to change that, click on the drop-down arrow, and there's Custom. You can right-click on it to edit, and also right-click on it to delete it. And then you got your effects when it comes to, well, Milk Glass. Let me come down here. So when it comes to objects and shapes, and it doesn't look like it's really applying to my chart, if at all. Glossy, no, I don't have the type of chart that's 3D that's really going to smooth it out and show something fancy. How about page color? Yeah, you can choose something like thus. In any case, once you choose all your colors, fonts, effects, if any, and page color, and you can see that you can't customize the effects. There's no option to customize, or for page color. Well, when I say customize, to actually make your own color, you got to choose from the palette there. Then, if you want to be able to save this for future email messages, this theme, the combination that you can apply in a single click, and then come up here, click on Themes, and go down to Save Current Theme. And this will be my spiffy theme, and click Save. So when I close out, and days later, I'm like, okay, time to create a new email. Double click, and I type in some text. Now, the default text that I've got set up is always going to be an Arial, because that's how I set it up in the options, backstage, File to Options. Well, okay, File, down to Options. And go to Stationery and Fonts. I mean, we've talked about this. When you're creating new email messages, click on Font. I chose Arial. I didn't go with the body. And the body is a code that allows you to use theme fonts that, well, by default is going to be Calibri. And so again, if you don't like Calibri, that's okay. If you want to stick with theme fonts, then you have to go to the Options tab. Otherwise, if you stay on the main Home tab or the Message tab and you change your font and you choose some other font that isn't a theme font, well, your themes for fonts become obsolete. You can't use it. You won't be able to update it. So in any case, that's why it's not going to work for me, because mine was set to Arial. Unless, of course, I want to change it on the fly and go, okay, fine, I'll use theme fonts. With it selected, come up here and say, okay, I'll stick with Calibri. There you go. And then, insert some objects, shapes, smart art, charts, and then go ahead and come up here, click on the Options tab, and your theme font, is it there? Click on it. It's right there. It's spiffy. And you can see when I click on it, it updates it. Oh, that's so tiny, I can't see it. Let's increase the font size. There you go. Monotype Corsiva. And then, of course, you can click on the drop-down arrow, right-click on it, and delete it. And if you want to overwrite it, because you want to change it and go, for this theme, I don't want to use spiffy. I'd rather just use Office. Everything else is the same. I haven't changed it. Then click on the drop-down arrow to save it. And then there's my spiffy theme. Double click to overwrite it. It says you want to replace it. Yes. So the only thing that's not part of it from the original was my spiffy here. You can see now it's Office. And then of course you can click on the drop down arrow. If you don't want it anymore, you can delete it and it's gone. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.